Hello, dear Professor Londoño and colleagues. In this opportunity, I'd like to share with you some relevant aspects that contribute to build a bilingual learning environment regarding the core question, how can be constructed a bilingual learning environment, and considering the acquired knowledge through this course as well as the educational context where I work, Institución Educativa Infantas, which is a private institution certified as bilingual for primary by the British Council and in process of bilingualism for secondary school. Let's start by remembering that constructing a bilingual learning environment implies to take into consideration a wide set of components and factors interrelated somehow. Firstly, it is necessary to bear in mind the participants in an educational context, in this case, target learners, teachers, parents, administrative staff, welfare staff, and the surrounding community, which includes neighbors, relatives, friends outside school, and people in general who can influence somehow through their language, learning beliefs, and perceptions. Regarding learners, education should be student centered by bearing in mind learners' needs, interests, their learning styles, and their familiar and sociocultural characteristics in relation to their context. Regarding teachers, they can model a pedagogical experience according to learners' characteristics and needs. In this respect, Caulfield and Edgar proposed some dimensions on the good practices to be considered. They are context, knowledge, curriculum, pedagogy, evaluation, management, teacher learning, and society. Martinez and Ramirez, mentioned by Londoño, state that the investigator empowers and develops attitudes to explore, inquire, describe, recognize, analyze, contrast, create, criticize, communicate actions and reflections that create a dynamic of dialogue, generate an exchange of learning between investigating and being a teacher because they simultaneously produce transformation in practices and the subjects. In this way, teachers should become investigators who analyze their own everyday experiences with learners inside and outside the classroom to reflect, evaluate, and propose new practices that construct bilingual learning environments. The international community UNESCO has a program called MOST, or Management of Social Transformations, that establishes as features of good educational practices that they say that they should be innovative, effective, sustainable, and replicable. In this case, Caulfield and Edgar, 2009, state that a good practice can never be unique, fixed, or abstract, nor a predetermination imposed by someone from some place or position. A practice not always results effective. That's another point to take into account. It doesn't result effective for all the learners. Hence, it can be adaptable to different contexts and learners' characteristics. In relation to physical spaces, which is the second item to take into account, or the second component to take into account in the construction of bilingual learning environments, it is important, as Duarte says, that the environment is conceived as a daily construction, daily reflection, permanent singularity that ensures diversity and with it the richness of life in relation. It is a space and a time in movement where participants develop skills, competencies, skills, and values. So, That's why physical spaces play an important role. They must be innovative, they must promote meaningful and active learning, they must promote creativity and critical thinking in students. On the other hand, the sociocultural environment also plays an important role in the construction of bilingual learning environments. Educational practices involve not only the inside school context, but also the context outside the school community, which corresponds to a non formal education or the teachings received from surrounding people, media, technology, and sociocultural influences in relation to bilingual education. An effective bilingual learning environment also facilitates the perception of diversity through the comprehension of interculturality, multiculturality, and pluriculturality, which started to be developed with the indigenous civilizations in Latin America and goes beyond of bilingualism only, since it involves different perceptions of life or beliefs, religion, customs, etc., as relevant factors of any culture identity. In conclusion, uh, to construct a bilingual learning environment, we must keep in mind participants with their characteristics. These participants are learners, teachers, parents, administrative staff, welfare staff, and the external community in general. We must also consider the physical spaces which should be appropriate for the educational community. They must be innovative, that motivate all the community to learn, to reflect, to analyze, and to create. In the same way, the sociocultural environment is important because it facilitates the perception of diversity and the comprehension of interculturality, multiculturality, and pluriculturality. As Londoño states, pedagogical practice is built where reflection and action take place, promoting educational change and transformation based on critical and innovative practices. Constructing a bilingual environment becomes like a cyclical process regarding the construction of innovative practices and the deconstruction of practices that don't work anymore, with target learners to be substituted or modified according to new language learning and teaching perceptions arising from a globalized thinking and changing world. Thank you so much for your attention.